Okay, so today I want to be talking about this 313, this BOB kind of code that ties into the movie Home, Bob and Prometheus, Barney, and a couple of other things, right? So when it comes to 13013, this is going to bring us to the 13th sign, which is Ophiuchus, the 13th reason. So Ophiuchus is known as the serpent bearer. As you can see, he's a man wrestling with a snake, and you have Taurus right behind him, which is Earth, which is symbolic of the heart chakra. This in the occult is also known as Night Venus, which is the ground, Earth, and the sky Venus would be Libra, or the day Venus, but we'll get into that. Everything's going to tie together. So we have Ophiuchus, like I said, a man wrestling with a snake. So he's conquering that dragon, like I was stating in that last video, or he's riding the rainbow, the boa constrictor. So right now he's training his dragon, how to train your dragon. And the dragon being Ophis, but before we get into Ophis, it's also known as Minoan, the snake goddess. Now this piece was around the Bronze Age of the Minoan civilization. And these figurines are known as snake goddesses or snake priestesses, which is also going to tie us into Inanna, which is the goddess of love, war, and fertility. And they bear similarities as far as Inanna being, or she's known as Ishtar as well, or Astara, I believe. And they both are like the goddesses that are bare-chested. So when Ophiuchus is wrestling with his snake, he's like in a war, in a battle with his desires, his love, his wanting to experience, which is part of creation. And remember, he's a man like Adam is a man, but we'll get into that later. So now this is going to bring us to the Ouroboros, or Ophis, who's known as the dragon. And the dragon in Ouroboros is the same thing as the snake, and the snake bending in on itself, the snake biting its tail. This also ties into creation and the story of Immaculate Conception. You could think of it with Mary, God, and Jesus, or Osiris, Isis, and Horus. So it's all about light bending in on itself in order to experience, and the transmigration of souls. Just like in the alchemic symbol, is the same thing, the snake biting its tail. And you see the dot in the middle, the soul, the memory, the water, the atom, the light, the information. And gold is symbolic of the sun, Horus, and Jesus, which is Horus and Jesus. So you have the sun like horizon, like the hours and time. Horus has risen, calculating the hours from the sunset to the sunrise. So these are all the alchemic symbols for gold, or for the sun, like I said, which is symbolic of your eyes, horizon. Horus has risen, like when Jesus rises from the dead. Basically all the same story. So from nighttime, which would be like Osiris, the underworld. Sunset, like Set and Osiris, or like All Set, which is a set stage, or a set of circumstances, or a set of scenarios, or the set of the rise of something and the fall of something. So you have All Set like August, and August is the fall. But then you see the sunrise like something rising with your eyes, which is your iris, like how your eyes bend light, which is known as refraction, which is also relative to sound waves, water, and other types of waves, which pass from one transparent substance to another, so turning lead into gold, transmuting of one element to another, just like in alchemy. And you see how one of the symbols look like the eye of Horus, right? Or the eye of Ra. And you even have the evil eye as well. This is also symbolic of a womb, which is a part of creation, the fertility part, the Inanna part, the love part, the Venus part, right? And you have, Inanna is known as one of the Anunnakis, the snake. So all these stories are symbolic of creation, life, death, rebirth, nothing to something. Just like when you was in the liquefied state, like being a little cum from your father, going into your mother's womb. then coming out a whole human being, a whole solid. That's that transmigration of one element, or transmutation of one element to another. And all of this was based on the desires that your parents had, desires of wanting to come together and mate or procreate, which was all a thought. That's that Adam part. And also remember in the last video, everything is a thought form from the mind of God. Everything is the sun is a thought form, like everything is from the Son of God, which was Adam. So the eternal cycle, life, death, rebirth, from sunrise to sunset. This is also symbolic of time as well, because these things take time. You don't just make a baby in a day. This is why this alchemic symbol also looks like a clock. And Horus, like hours of the day. House of Horus, house of hours. So like I said, it's all about a process of creation or creating something. And this is going to bring us into Prometheus, or Prometheus and Bob. And the thing about Prometheus and Bob is that they're actually one person. And this is the story of Aquarius. And Aquarius is known as Adam in the occult. So Aquarius being the water bearer. Think about the age of information. You could also think of Adam like Atum in Egyptian, or Adam like the actual Adam, which means first creation. And the first creations of God was Adam, right? Adam and Eve. So we have Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And, they got casted out because they fell for Venus. They fell in love. They fell into fornication. They fell into their desires after eating the fruit of knowledge, I believe. So they fell for the snake's, tricks in the garden, right? And I see it as symbolic of, when you fall in love, right? That's where the Venus aspects comes in. And you can also think of Adam and Eve as also the sun and the moon, just like how they was casted out of the garden. The sun and the moon, they cast shadows, and man and woman are the shadows of Adam and Eve. So we follow suit. We also fall into our desires as well, fall victim to our desires. We fall for the snake, the same way that, Adam and Eve did. So we have Adam and Eve could also be Isis and Ra, like the sun and the moon, the sun being Ra, the moon being Isis, casting the shadow. Then you have Isis, Ra, and L as in like electrons, protons, neutrons, and the nucleus, which are the chemicals that form an atom, which is a thought form, which will be like the man in Prometheus, but a primitive man, which is Bob. And Prometheus being Adam would be the ET part of the man's intellect, his mind, his thoughts. And thoughts, information, just like how Aquarius is the water bearer, water, memory, information, light. Prometheus is the intellect part of Bob's mind, his imagination, which is why Prometheus is purple, just like Bob is purple. Just like how Barney is purple as well, and you see the green part, the heart chakra part. So Bob, Prometheus, and Barney are all symbolic to your pineal gland, your purple chakra, the ET part of your mind, which transcends matter, like it travels. So that's gonna take us back to the snake biting his tail. Like I said, it's about creation, just like when you see things through your inner eye, your imagination, you begin the process of creation. And that's the alchemical process of turning lead to gold, from nothing into something, taking something from your inner mind and creating, bringing it out, projecting. Adam and Eve being the inner, Adam being the outer, the projection, Eve being the reflection, the darkness and the light, and light being information, intellect. Just like Barney, you gotta think of the Barney song. Barney is a dinosaur from our imagination. So talking about the pineal gland, Barney is the pineal gland, Barney is purple. They said, what else they said? They said He shows us how to play pretend, your imagination, ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. That's like intellect, language. So Barney is like Prometheus coming to Bob, showing him, you know, his ABCs and his 1, 2, 3s and how to play pretend, you know, how to function, how to be a friend. Like, so coming out of a primitive state to a more higher awareness, right? And you could also think of like the little alien from Men in Black, how he was inside of the guy's head, right? So that was his pineal gland. Even looking at this picture of Anana, you also see the atom right there. You see the 6 little rays of light. So the electrons, protons, the neutrons, same thing right here with the snake biting his tail. Electrons, protons, neutrons, creating an atom, creating a thought. So remember, your body is terrestrial. So Bob will be like the body part of you, and your mind is extraterrestrial because it could travel beyond matter, could travel throughout time and space without the body. So that is the ET part of you, like the mind being also the spaceship. And so this was the same image that was inside of the snake biting his tail. This is known as a benzie, I believe. Notice how it looks like I believe a hexagon, and it also looks like a knot, so you could think of like astronaut. And this also looks like the molecules for water, so you can think of like Aquarius being the water bearer, pouring in, bringing in information. Soul, water is memory, and Aquarius being an atom, the water bearer. Like Ophis being a man, the snake bearer, who bears the snake. So this was the 303 code. I said the 303, the 13013 code, which when you round it up, you get 8, and 8 is symbolic of Uranus, and Uranus is Aquarius, Prometheus, atom, technology, enlightenment, basically everything that we kind of covered. And Bob is like Bob and Prometheus, or Barney, in your imagination, creating something unique or being unique, just like when kids have an imaginary friend. That's them using their pineal gland, their imagination, turning nothing into something, which also ties into the number 8 and Uranus, which is also material, putting time into something, creation, snake bending in on itself, the clock, the house of Horus, the house of hours. The house of hours is also the astrology wheel, the merry-go-round, and the night Venus, like I said, which is Taurus, the bull that you see right there. Then you have the day Venus, which is Libra, the sky. This is why you have Inanna. She's known as the sky goddess. So she would be Libra, the Libra aspect of Venus. And I put the Rihanna picture in there because, you know, Rihanna, Inanna, coded, it's all coded. The serpent goddess, or the snake priestess, or the dragon, ophis. And Aquarius is also symbolic of alchemy and science as well. See, Barney got his little magician hat because he's like an alchemist. He's like a little scientist. Got the purple and green. You know, purple's for royalty, and the green for the heart chakra, the Torah field, the electromagnetic field, right? And you see how they got the little swirl in the middle, which also looks like the snake bending in on itself, light bending in on itself, the snake biting its tail. So that basically sums up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in another one.